This is the beginning of a 3-week series where we talk about leadership of self, leadership in family, and leadership in business. This week, we're going to focus on leadership of self. What is leadership of self? Well, if we look at my definition of leadership, leadership is how we move forward. So how do we move self forward? There are 3 views of self that we should be really comfortable with. What is our level of self-confidence? What is our level of self-awareness? And what is our level of self-worth? Self-confidence, self-awareness, self-worth. How do you value yourself? It's a really tough one, and it's going to take a little bit of time. So sitting down and just kind of working through and giving yourself a score of 1 to 5. How do you value yourself? What is your self-worth? Are you a 5? Are you at the top of your game? Do you have an extreme value or perspective of self-worth? Or are you a 1? Are you kind of are questioning what your self-worth is? Either side of that equation is okay. The next question is, how do we move to the next level? And if we're a 1, how do we get to a 2? If we're a 2, how do we get to a 3? If we're a 4, how do we get to a 5? Look at the same thing, that same evaluation through the lens of self-awareness. How self-aware are you? And where does self-confidence play into this? How confident are you in your abilities? Now, if you've paid attention to some of the stuff I've shared before, confidence, from my perspective, is the combination of trust in the ability to do something, and awareness in what needs to be done. If you have both of those, awareness of what needs to be done and trust in the capability to do it, your self-confidence will improve. If, however, you know what needs to be done and you're unable to do it, or you demonstrate an inability to do it, your confidence will start to fall apart. From a self-awareness perspective, these are the questions. Ask those questions. Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? What do I want to do? Who do I serve? These are all about you. Who am I? What do I want? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to serve? What problems do I like to solve? What's your level of self-awareness when it comes to the answering those questions? And then on the self-worth side of things, how much value do you put toward your ability to do it? Do you value yourself high, or do you not? It's a really tough thing. So leadership starts with self. Let's look at self through the lens of 3 different categories. Evaluate ourselves: self-worth, self-awareness, and self-confidence. And then let's move forward into building those leadership skills, the skills like problem solving, decision making, the ability to achieve a result, goal setting and execution, communication, and design. We can go through and start to evaluate what are our capabilities in each of those 5 categories. And once we improve those capabilities, we can improve our ability to both think critically and think creatively, which puts us in a position where we get to think differently so that we can do different. And when we do different, we can ultimately be different. And we can do that through the perspective of helping others do the things they want to do better and faster, creating this time to value, this speed to impact, those kind of things where we make a positive impact in the operating environment that we get a chance to work in. So that's how I think of leadership of self. Leadership of self. First, assess against self-awareness, self-confidence, and self-worth. Then move into our understanding of our skill development, skill gap, and then put ourselves into a position where we can think critically and think creatively as we go and build those solutions. How do we put this into practice? Well, first, let's go ahead and assess those areas of self. And then once we're there, let's start to assess the skill side of things. And then once we're there, go back and forth between always checking on the self-worth, self-awareness, self-confidence, and improving those skill sets, and you will build better leadership capability. Now, my view of leadership is, by definition, how we move forward. So how do we know what forward is, or how do we move forward? Well, the first thing we want to be able to answer after we've did some of that really hard stuff, first thing we want to answer is, where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? Where do I want to be? Where do I want to be next? Then let's look at, where am I today? And then how do we identify those next logical steps? Just define simple next logical steps that we can start taking today to move toward where we want to go. Ultimately, moving forward. So that's how I look at leadership of self. Next week, we'll get into leadership from the context of family, and then we'll move into leadership in the context of business. Thank you.